Welcome to Secular Sessions, the show that explores the experiences of atheists in India. I'm your host, Raj, and in this show, I will be talking to fellow atheists from India about their personal journeys and experiences of living as a non believer in a country where religion plays a significant role in society. Secular Sessions is a bilingual show with a conversation taking place in both Hindi and English. By doing so, I aim to reach a wider audience and shed light on the experiences of atheists from all parts of the country. I hope that this show will provide a platform for atheists to share their stories and for viewers to gain a deeper understanding of what it means to be an atheist in India. Join us as we explore the world of atheism and secularism in India on Secular Sessions. So today we are joined by Dev. We will talk more about atheism and his journey towards atheism. So Dev, how are you doing, bro?
Hey, hi Raj. I'm doing good. It's a pleasant day.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yes,
enjoying your holiday?
yes, yeah. It's coincidentally religious holiday here while we're recording today, right? It's Good Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, some things that Christians have done well is given us a holiday, and it has made it good because you can just wake up whenever. Don't have to wake up on, I don't know, 6 o'clock to go to work or whatever.
Yes. It's a good day after all. It's a Good Friday.
It is a good Friday. So how did you become an atheist?
Yeah. So my journey towards atheism has its roots in my childhood itself.
Mhm.
I was my during my childhood I was raised in a pretty skeptical manner. That is not to say that my parents or my extended family was atheist or they were not religious, but at least my parents gave me some freedom to think skeptically and not believe things just because others wanted me to believe them.
Mhm.
So that was pretty much what was laying the groundwork for me becoming an atheist in the future.
Oh, Can you
And
can you give us one example of such situation? I'll give you an example from my side. I work
Mhm,
in IT and I fix computers for a living. Whenever
mhm,
there is a problem with a computer, and if I happen to fix it by chance or by luck, like I've pushed some button and then it seems to have fixed it, I'm
mhm.
not happy because I want to know what caused that problem. And this is
Got it.
generally what they do in computers or, server management stuff as well, because they want to know how the problem was caused, which will
Mhm.
help them to stop that problem from happening again. It's not about the fix for me. It's more about how to fix it or narrowing it down what the problem is and how it is caused so we can fix it for future. Or if it is a non-problem, we should have a solution on hand to fix things. So I'm assuming when you say you raised skeptically, so you were allowed to think however you like and you were allowed to question things. They didn't try to tie down your curiosity.
Yes, yeah, for sure. And yeah, what I was trying to say was also along those lines about there was never when I had questions at a time when I felt like these questions were, inappropriate in any sense.
Mhm.
It was never like there was a feeling of this is not, how I'm supposed to be thinking or how I'm supposed to be asking questions.
Mhm.
It is not for me to know, or it is not my place to know, or something like that.
Mm. So if you ask
Uh,
your parents any question, they gave you a reasonable answer?
yeah, if they did not give me a reasonable answer, it was at least not discouraged. And,
Okay.
there was always a safe space for the questions itself. That's what I felt. It was, what I'm trying to say is it was not about the answers themselves. It was just that these questions were okay. That's what
Okay.
I meant to say.
So does your parents know that you're an atheist?
Yeah, now they do. Yeah.
Okay. And how was their reaction when they found out or you told them about it?
I don't think they've completely accepted it in a sense. You know, they know intellectually that I don't believe. I'm not a believer,
Mhm.
but maybe they've they find some consolation in thinking that this is a phase or something. It's not that they tell me that this is a phase for me, but maybe they find some consolation in thinking that themselves,
Mm.
and they don't completely accept that I'm an atheist. But that's fine. It's not like they, uh, they, they force their beliefs onto me or anything like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
So if say there is a puja in home or a
Mhm.
prayer at home, do they ask you that you need to join, or do you have the liberty to not join it?
Not necessarily. If it's not necessarily, will they ask me to join? If it's a social setting when there are, there's extended family that's going to be present, they would ask for me to be present as well. But it's not for the puja itself, and that's something that I have not had an issue with so far either. If it's just a puja at home where it's just my nuclear family or just
Mhm.
my parents and siblings or whatever, then I don't have to be present. But if it's an extended family gathering or something, they would ask for my presence, and that was always fine with me.
Okay, then no, that sounds good. That reminds me that I have a friend, and he knows that I'm an atheist, and I don't
Hmm.
believe in God and all that. He had some other friends turned up to his house, and then I went to their home.
Hmm.
Those other friends, it was during Lodi, uh, on the North India side, they celebrate Lodi. And
Hmm.
I just went there for drinks because I could. And then the new friends wanted to do some prayer before that. And I was
Okay.
like, they asked the other friends of my friend asked me to join in. And so my friend, he said, you don't have to do it if you don't want to. But I was
Hmm.
like, well, I don't want to create a scene because it'll take too much time explaining them and all that stuff. I'm just happy to fold my hands and then stand in front of fire for like, I don't know, a second or 10 seconds, who cares? And,
Yeah.
because for me, I want to have the conversations on why you believe it and not. Just when they're about to do some rituals, even if I start a conversation, it's not going to be a fruitful one. And I don't
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
a
for
point
sure.
in that. So, and I used to do it before. It doesn't matter if I'm doing something like that, just to help others feel nice. Because at the end of the day, we should help people feel nice. Um,
Yes. Yeah.
unless it's going really, really bad, then of course not. But for little things, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I've never had an issue with folding my hands either.
Cool. And how did you discover atheism? Like on the internet? Like, was there some specific app or?
The specific app is called Reddit. That's where I met as well.
No,
No,
Reddit, Reddit.
yeah, but I'm not sure. It might have been Reddit where I first came across these people, these public intellectuals and public
Mm.
atheists. Um, but it could be, something. It might have been Facebook or something. I'm not sure if I used Facebook then. I don't use Facebook today, but
Mm.
uh, it's possible. It was most probably Reddit. Yeah, that's probably where I came across these talks and opinions and so on.
Yeah, what were you searching on Reddit that you came across it?
That's actually a difficult question. It was, like I said, it was like 5 or 6 years ago. I
Mhm.
don't exactly recall what
Okay.
it is that led me to this rabbit hole or path,
Mm.
but yeah, I first came across a few quotes and stuff like that. I think
Okay.
about atheism and from these atheists. I'm not sure if I mentioned now, but yeah, I'm referring to the four horsemen
Oh yeah.
of the non-apocalypse,
Mhm.
and all of them. I must have come across quotes first because I eventually started checking out Sam Harris's podcast and other what work Richard Hawkins and Christopher Hitchens and all of them have done. that must have been what happened. Eventually, it was a lot of information coming from a variety of sources, but in which led to me reading books by these authors and listening to other talks, and then there were other thinkers that came in later, like Yuval Noah Harari and all of them. Yeah, so all of these people have influenced me to various extents.
No,
Although, yeah, right now I cannot exactly recall how I found them.
that's all right, man. It's it's all good as long as anyone helps you critically think. That's all you need to know. You don't need to remember their names or their books or anything else. I don't remember half the people that I listen to on the internet. I like them. I can listen to their voice and like, oh, I know this voice, but I may not remember who the speaker is. And same with my channel. I don't care if anyone remembers my name or not, or it's just the thoughts matter. And
Yeah.
if you have bad thoughts, it matters a lot. We can see how Hindus are in trouble these days. That's what I've seen on the internet, anyways. And that's why they're
Mhm.
retaliating, according to some people. I don't know how religion, which covers like 70-80% of of India, is in trouble due to the minority religions in India. Just doesn't make sense. But anyways,
Yeah.
that's just how it is. And so, any book that you read, you mentioned God Delusion. What was
Yeah.
the thing that you liked about it? Like the book was written well, or what grasped your attention?
Yeah, God Delusion was the one in which he takes one, uh, yeah, Dawkins takes one criticism after the other and just keeps breaking them all down, right?
Mhm,
I think that was the one. Yeah. So in that book, it was just mind blowing, to be honest, when I first read it.
mhm,
How he just takes all these arguments, pretty much every argument I think I've heard against atheism and
mhm,
for religion, and he just breaks them down very simply, very rationally, very logically. But
mhm.
uh, uh, it's not hard to get it. It's not difficult for a beginner to follow these arguments either.
Okay.
And so sometimes, when theologians make arguments, I think it can be a little difficult for a beginner to exactly grasp what's happening here or what the issue is, because that's, how these theologians argue or how they see religion is not exactly, is not necessarily how most people see religion, right?
I just
Um,
I personally struggle with when they use those fancy words like, fallacies and ad
mhm.
hominem and all that crap. And like
Yeah, exactly.
for me, if I can't explain something to the other person in 10 minutes or less, then I probably don't understand it myself.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah. And in accessible language, yeah, for sure.
yes, I mean, if you're really that good and you really understand what you're talking about, you should be able to convey your message or at least make it as simple as possible.
Yes, yeah, you should be. I think it was Feynman who had a quote on that as well, right? If you cannot explain something to a 5-year-old or someone,
Mhm.
then you probably don't understand it well enough. I might be sorry, might be attributing it to Feynman, but I'm not sure. Yeah, I think so.
Well, whoever said it, it is a very nice quote.
Yeah, yeah, I think
No,
so.
no, that's awesome because I've heard Richard Dawkins in some of the debates. You mentioned Sam Harris. I really like his style of presenting and talking in a very calm manner and subtly being really sarcastic. So,
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah, some of his debates are awesome. And I also like Christopher Hitchens because you mentioned about the
yeah,
horsemen
yeah.
for atheism. He's quite direct and everybody has their own style, right? And for some it works, some it doesn't. So I like to listen to different people and the vocabulary. And same as you, I need to, they teach you a lot. Just after becoming an atheist, there's a lot of changes that happened in my life. For example, I started to think critically about things. I stopped believing in ghosts, soul, and other things because I thought about them and like, oh, it doesn't make much sense. Did
Yeah.
anything happen to you when you become an atheist?
Yeah, for sure. Actually, there were many things that so there are naturally things like this that you expect to happen when you start becoming more rational and more critical about some things about yourself. You might, it might leak into other parts of your life as well. In sense, you
Mhm.
might become more critical, more conscious, more rational about other things you do. For example, I'm just giving an example. This is not exactly my example, but you might also start thinking about what kind of food you're consuming and so on.
Mhm.
What when you start thinking about what ideas you're consuming, you might it might leak into other parts of your life like that.
True.
What I did not expect to happen, however, was um, with time. In time, what I was realizing was that as I was making more progress towards rationality, as I was thinking that I'm
Mhm.
making progress towards becoming a more rational person, I just discovered there was so many ways in which I was previously very irrational. I sort of discovered this, discovered that I was being irrational about more things that I was rational about.
Oh,
you
wow.
know,
That's
yeah,
interesting.
it's not just religion. Naturally, that's where it started. That's what I was trying to become more rational about religion, about faith, about beliefs and so on. But then I just realized I was becoming. I was already not becoming. I was already so irrational about many other things in my
You
life, and I
gotta
could.
you got to give us an example, bro. You can't. I'm not gonna let it go because it's interesting
No,
for
yeah,
me to hear that.
yeah. So I think it's so one of the examples I can give that is also probably inspired at least by all these logical puzzles and all that is how how much we do for other people. So for example,
Mhm.
uh, you know um, in the case of altruism or giving or charity, let's say.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm not sure if you've heard of this, but there is some. Uh, I'm not sure who started this movement either, but there's something that Sam Harris advocates for, which is giving away 10% of what you make, irrespective of what you make, as long
Mhm.
as you have enough to feed yourself and keep your immediate family secure.
Mhm.
Uh, Whatever it is that you make, give away 10% of it as charity or altruism or
Mhm.
something like that. I was thinking about this. I just started thinking about this when I realized, it's very irrational how I had previously been doing this sort of thing. I might sometimes tip, delivery person who was
Yeah.
very, helpful, or I might otherwise, if I was in the mood for it, I would, help by buying someone some food
Yeah.
who claimed to be hungry and so on.
Mhm.
But even that was extremely rational in the sense I would do it depending on my mood, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If it happened to be a good day for me, I might help them out. But if it
Mm.
happened to be a bad day for me, unlucky them. you know, Bad for them if I'm having a rough day.
If I'm having a bad day, how can you have a good day? Screw you.
Yeah, you don't get what I would have given you if I were in a better mood.
Yeah.
Which I later, upon reflection, realized, this is not a way to do things. I have to decide if I actually want to help people out.
Mhm.
Especially when I'm coming across somebody who claims to not have had any food or something like that. Uh, just make a rational decision in the first place about whether or not you want to help them. Not everybody's going to be able to. That's another thing.
Mhm.
If I am deciding now that I am going to help these people that I come across, then at least in the future, when I'm inclined to on a bad day or a rough day to not help them, I
Yeah.
have to make a rational decision to actually do it irrespective of my mental state at the time. So this is just an example that came to mind right now. But what I've realized upon reflection is there are so many things like this that just happen in life that I don't pay so much attention to, that I'm just irrational about. If that makes sense.
No, it does. There are a lot of things in life that I never thought about it, but
Yeah,
just
yeah,
did it. Like, for example, if there is a pundit that used to come to home, or, like I went to my relative's home and they took me to this pundit, and I'm just out of respect, touch his feet and all that, and thinking he's the best person ever in the world. And
mm,
now I think to myself, wait a minute, why do I think that this guy who can't be bothered getting a real job, why should I touch his
mm,
feet? Like,
mm,
it is our culture to touch feet in respect, which I fully agree with. But then again, why do I have to touch feet of a person who's basically illiterate? I don't
mm,
even know if they know some of the quotes from the Veds. And everybody knows popular quotes, you know.
right, yeah,
And sometimes they're like, oh, this is a Pandit or this is a Baba. Why should I trust him? Most of the people say crap all the time, you know.
yeah,
And then they say, but this Baba said this once. And I'm like, even a stop clock shows right time twice a day. So
yeah,
if you are saying so much, if you're throwing so much shit on the wall, something's gonna stick, right?
yeah,
So you gotta look in overall. And now I don't know, I've become more critical of these guys because I think they do more harm than good. And
mm,
even if person is down, they say like things gonna be better, trust in God. I hate that because I know the person is down, and probably the person who is down gonna feel nice when they hear
mm,
such stuff because you're conditioned like that growing up. But it's not really helping them at all. Like, it's just giving them false hope. And if that doesn't work out, then what? Plus, the person waste money. It's interesting to me that people who spend money to these babas are already in need of money. So these babas are exploiting money from people who are
true.
just really poor and actually want to have money to make their situation better. So I personally don't like these people. So because you become a critical thinker, have you thought that you could be wrong in thinking atheism is right or rational?
Uh, you mean to say, is it possible that God exists?
Yes.
I guess it is possible that some God exists, although I mostly confident that the God that we um, think of when we say God does not exist. In the sense, I don't believe in a personal God. I think this was what Einstein said. I'm not sure who said this.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't believe in a person God like that. But there are various other forms that God can take. And if you're asking me if some God exists in some form or another, I don't. I'd be more agnostic than atheist in that case.
Okay.
But also, I believe pretty firmly that whatever form God takes, if God exists, that is not a God we need to have faith in, at least.
Mhm.
In the sense, there's a very faint difference between uh, believing in God and having faith in God, right? Uh, I might believe in God that I don't have faith in. I mean, there's no reason to put faith in a God that is not even a God that you can conceptualize.
Mhm.
There is no, if you have no reason to believe that this God has your personal best interests at heart or anything like that, then there is no reason to have faith in this God, right?
What is faith according to you?
Yeah, faith, how I understand faith is when you believe deeply that there's a God out there who, if you pray to, perhaps, or in some way, if you can get a message to them, and then they will act on the message or something, or they might have your best interest at heart, like I mentioned earlier, or they might consider your prayers or something. then there is reason to have faith in this God. Meaning, if you don't have faith, perhaps the God is not going to care about your messages to, your messages or your prayers, something like that.
Mm.
But if that is not the case, that if you do not believe in a God that can listen to your prayers or can take any action based on your prayers, then there is no reason to have faith, is what I believe. Or at least that's how I understand faith. I
Okay.
might, be mistaken in some way.
Well, I personally, I think faith is believing in something without reason. So, for
Okay.
example, if I believe in a God, or they say I have a religious faith that Hinduism is right, that means I'm believing in Hinduism without any good reason because
Mm-hmm.
I have put my faith in it.
Got it. So faith would sort of remove the necessity of reason, or something like that. If
Yes.
you have faith, then you do not need reason anymore, like
Yeah.
that,
So,
right?
so for example, if I love a girl, I have
Mm-hmm.
faith in our relationship that
Mm-hmm.
we will get married, we will be together. But that is not an evidence per se that we will get together and we'll get married.
Mm-hmm. But in that case, would reason be enough to, sort of argue against faith? It probably would, right? If you
Well,
had reason to
y-
believe that you would not get married, then um, how does that work?
well, the reason is again different. Sure, I can pop up a lot of reason like this is why I think that I'm gonna get married to this girl, and this is the reason why I think like she does things for me, I do things for her. We
Mm-hmm.
contact each other, we meet each other, you know, that's
Mm-hmm.
all good. But then again, it's not 100% that
No,
we
for
will
sure.
get married, right?
I
I
was
have,
actually asking about reason as evidence against this. So, for example, um, what I'm thinking of is when you use faith in the context of religion, you often have people use the definition that you just gave
mhm.
and say, "Well, I am not going to listen to your arguments because your arguments are based out of reason, and my belief is based out of faith."
Oh, I
So,
see.
even sometimes people might say things like, uh, I do not care for reason because I have faith in this religion, and they
Mm.
don't. And arguments made out of reason cannot remove someone's faith from it. Cannot make someone's faith go away. That's what I sort of meant to say.
Oh, I see. Yes, it's absolutely true. Let's just say another word for reason is logic.
Yeah.
Because somebody is believing in God due to faith, or faith, i.e., believing in something without reason,
Yeah.
then because they are not believing in something for a reason, you cannot you cannot tell them a reason and they'll move away. Like
Mm.
it's they haven't formed that belief logically. You can only
Yeah. Exactly.
demolish the other thing logically because they formed that belief logically. But if somebody just
Exactly.
believes it, I have lucky socks, you know, and I believe in it,
Mm.
no amount of logic's gonna tell it to go away, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. True.
and why do you think it is hard for people to let go of faith?
Mm-hmm. Why do I think? I think it's got to do with identity for sure.
Mhm,
How people identify. Identity can be a pretty strong force.
mhm.
If you feel like you belong to a certain group, I feel like when you're threatened, when your identity is threatened, you might, you might react by clinging stronger onto your identity so as to not lose it.
Mm.
That is probably the biggest force that I can think of. But I'm no expert in psychology or anything.
No, that's all right. It's completely fine. But that's a very good point. Identity, like who am I? It
Yeah.
matters. And I suppose when you are in a particular religion and you've done something for the religion, then you develop your expertise, so to speak, in that. And you are known by people, and suddenly you don't want to leave it
Yeah.
because you will lose all that effort.
Yeah, and you might have you might have a group associated with this identity as well. So, for example, if you're a regular temple goer, or for each religion, you're a church goer or a mosque goer or whatever, you might have a group of I don't know if I should call them friends, but you might have a group of people around you who regularly meet you there. You socialize there and so on.
Mm,
And so, when this group becomes a part of your life, you sort of identify with this group,
mhm.
and you don't want to let go of this group very easily. That's what I feel.
No, it's fair enough. Do you think there are any positive impacts of religion?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to get into. In fact,
Nice.
uh, in fact, what I think it might be lacking is exactly that in atheist circles. What we just talked about might exactly be what we're lacking. So, when I'm talking to you right now,
Mhm,
that's two atheists talking. But how often do we get to that? We don't have a church of atheists or anything like that.
mm.
There's no meeting place for atheists that we were to follow ritualistically. In the sense, even if there was a church, I would not imagine a lot of atheists would just show up there every Sunday, because there might be better things to do. There might be better or more important things to do, even if it's just laying back and reading a book or something. Some people might end up doing that because it's not. You don't have any persuasion to go to a place until you've already found the bond there, sort of, or you're made to go there by your parents and so on.
Yeah, that's a
So
very good good point that you just raised. Religions are really good at building communities, and because there is some higher power in a religion, everybody makes it the high priority. Whereas
exactly, exactly, yeah.
whereas in atheism, it's just humans, and when there are just humans, that's just you know not that you're disrespecting them, but it's just like, I don't want to go
Yeah,
because I've got other things, so you prioritize differently.
exactly. Yeah. You just have, it just becomes another thing on your priority list. It just does not, it does not. You might even give washing, doing dishes or something more priority. If that's something that you've not done all week or something, you might end up doing that on a Sunday.
Mm.
Uh,
I think
so what,
they can succeed, but A, there is no safe space for meeting an atheist. Like if you go into a restaurant and stuff, you can't, at least in India, you can't be open about, if you want to talk about God or any other thing for that matter.
Mhm.
The moment you start talking about God or like, I don't believe in that, then there are people who around us and then they can get involved. But if you go in a restaurant and talk about God, like this God was really good, and I just think of gods as like people comparing Superman and Batman, who's more powerful. Um,
Yeah.
and then I think there is no safe space, so people are shy. Plus, there is not enough trust. Like on a Reddit community, Atheism India, we plan a gathering of 15 people and they're all anonymous. What if we go there and then find out like two are not atheist, right?
Yep, there's always some risk associated with it, is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
and
Yeah.
then you can get into trouble in some parts of India. People can call other people, and then you know how much unemployment we've got in our country, and people
Yeah.
got so much time in their hand.
Yeah.
So,
I think that we might have to look for alternatives in these cases, because one thing is, at least for me, as much as I criticized, identity and so on,
mhm,
I like to not give any individual part of me so much, control or over my life, so to speak. So I don't give any individual part of my identity a lot of weight, or uh, give it individually all my time or energy. So I've tried to sort of find communities in other areas of interest that are related but not directly the
Mhm.
same as atheism. So, for example, like I mentioned earlier, right, I read a couple of books, maybe in a couple of months. Yeah, I read more or less a book a month, I think, at this point.
Mhm.
And I've sort of tried to join book clubs that are active
Yeah.
around where I at.
Mhm.
So then you might discover that uh, a particular book club that you've joined is actually, a pretty safe space to talk about these things.
Mm.
I've actually had a multiple book clubs, at least two book clubs that I've joined in the past, which were safe spaces to talk about atheism.
Oh, nice.
Where there were, yeah, which was pretty cool because you don't have to explicitly go out saying this is an atheist meeting or anything. You
Mm.
just say this is a club meeting, and then no one's going to pay attention to it,
No,
right?
that's fair enough. When you're saying book club, all I'm assuming is there are about 10, 15 people, and then you say, okay, everyone should read a book. And on the 15th day or whenever you guys gather, depending on every day, whenever whoever gathers, they're gonna read one book and then gonna tell us what this book is about and then find what is more interesting for you and why did you decide to read this book and all that stuff. You can educate people more, and it could be a novel or anything, and it's just about talking and communicating and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, initially it was just about socializing for me. So it was just about finding community and finding people, who share an interest. Basically, that was it for me initially.
Yeah.
It had pretty much nothing to do with atheism in the beginning.
Mm.
But then I also found out, it's pretty cool that this also happens to be a safe space for atheists.
No, that's very interesting. So we should tell people read more books, and I should try and read book because I
Yeah,
hate reading books.
reading books can never be a bad idea, in my opinion.
Oh no,
It,
I totally agree. I have friends who said it's very addictive once you start reading books.
that's really the only condition. I think you should have the time to spare in the evening or something, and create a routine around reading a book. Then it's one of the most enjoyable things, I think.
How will society change according to you if there are more atheists in the society?
So we're probably just talking about India right now, right?
Yes, just in
Or are we
India.
talking about okay, just India?
Hmm.
I think so this is I don't have any stats around this, but I'm thinking right now that India is for India it's a really good time for people in India to become atheists because India is most definitely not in the more atheist country.
Yeah.
Sorry, India is definitely not topping the list of percentage of atheists in this country or anything like that. There
Yes.
are definitely many countries, especially probably the developed countries, but also maybe even other countries where there are more atheists by percentage than in India. So, what if these societies that have become more atheist than India are not going down to collapse or anything, and often they are actually becoming more developed and so on,
Hmm.
then I think that can give us some idea that becoming more atheist is not at least going to lead us to collapse or anything. It's something that other countries have already tried out, and they've not failed in this. They've not failed by any means by just becoming more atheist.
Hmm.
It can be difficult, I think, to predict uh, things at this macro scale. There are going to be lots of factors. In a sense, it's when we say India becomes more atheist, we're not just saying that people wake up tomorrow as atheists, right? There are going to
Yeah.
be lots of changes which lead to these people becoming atheists.
Mhm.
So all those would have many, ripple effects and so on. I think, but most definitely, it's not going to be harmful in any way, and I'm pretty confident it's going to be a good thing because more people are going to be rational, more people are going to be probably, voting for uh, people who will actually, take care of their needs and so on.
Hmm.
Uh, More people are going to be conscious of their place in society, their powers, more people are probably going to be uh, more demanding of their rights and so on.
Mm,
If they are probably more uh, rational and logical and things like that, and skeptical, mostly skeptical.
mm,
So that's one thing, and there is really no reason to not do it, which is what I was trying to emphasize in the beginning by saying, it cannot possibly be leading us to harm by just becoming more skeptical and more, rational people.
mm,
Because, like I said, many countries have done it before us, and they've not been led to doom or anything like that.
mhm.
But what do you think about that? How do you think it will change us?
If more people are atheist,
Yeah.
this is just my thinking. I think people
Mhm.
will become more accountable because at the moment, sometimes people do crappy stuff and they just blame it on like, oh, well, God made me do it, or my God knows why I did it the way I did it. So
Mhm.
when you eliminate God, then you become more accountable. Like I did it because I wanted to do it, you know?
Right.
And in India, I think a lot of people aren't really accountable. Like even in general, like you're driving a car and a
Yeah.
car could,
Makes sense.
yeah, the other car could crash into you. It's almost like
Mhm.
everybody want to fight each other. You know, then nobody says like it's my fault, sorry about that and all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Makes sense.
this, yeah, they start with words like BC and MC and all that stuff
Mhm.
without even trying to see where the problem was. All the Babas will get eradicated for sure.
Yeah.
There might be some other people or free thinkers that might rise, but hopefully they won't be as arrogant as some of the Babas. You can tell I really hate Babas.
Yeah, I can tell by now.
Mm. So, any last words before we depart?
Well, I just thank you. Thanks, Raj, for doing this. This interview itself, or this conversation itself, has been pretty interesting and engaging, and has helped me think more as well. So, thanks for doing this, and I hope you have a lot of fun doing this with lots of people.
Oh, I'm definitely having a lot of fun doing it with all the people. And all I say on my channel is let us think, and you can call me atheist.